Behind the veil of human consciousness lies a universe of unexpressed feelings, silenced desires and emotions seeking manifestation. Love, in its purest essence, is perhaps the most powerful of these forces dwelling in our collective unconscious. As Carl Jung observed, humans are naturally drawn to what completes their own psychic totality, a process he called individuation. Secret love is one of the most intriguing manifestations of the human psyche. It is a feeling that transcends rationality, emerging from the depths of the unconscious and creating invisible bridges between souls. Jung understood that our attractions are not merely accidental, but reflect deep aspects of ourselves that we seek in the other, our shadow, our anima or animus, our unconscious projections. When someone loves us secretly, a subtle dance of signs and symbols unfolds, a silent language that communicates what words cannot express. This is the language of archetypes, which Jung studied extensively, universal patterns of behavior that transcend cultures and eras. In this journey of discovery, we will explore 10 signs that reveal this undeclared love, interpreted through the lens of Jungian psychology. These signs are not mere curiosities, but manifestations of profound psychic processes that reveal the true nature of love as a transformative force. One of the first signs of secret love lies in the gaze. Jung understood that the eyes are truly the windows to the soul, revealing psychic contents that consciousness tries to hide. When someone secretly loves you, their eyes manifest what Jung would call archetypal recognition, an encounter not just between two people, but between two souls. The gaze of someone who loves secretly is different. It lingers longer, seeks connection even in crowded spaces, and often averts when noticed, revealing the tension between the desire for connection and the fear of exposure. This pattern reflects what Jung described as the dynamic between the persona, the social mask, and the authentic self struggling to express itself. Observe closely. This person maintains eye contact beyond conventional social norms, creating moments of silent intimacy amid daily life. Their pupils dilate subtly, an involuntary physiological phenomenon Jung would recognize as the unconscious speaking through the body when words fail. This gaze carries what Jung called numinous charge, an almost sacred quality that distinguishes casual attention from loving contemplation. It is a gaze that sees beyond the surface, recognizing aspects of you that even you may not be fully aware of. In group settings, you may notice how this gaze seeks you out across the crowd, as if an invisible thread connects your psychic energy. Fields. Jung would understand this as a manifestation of anima connection, when two psyches establish a bridge of communication that transcends conventional social barriers, creating intimacy even in public spaces. Jung developed the concept of synchronicity to describe meaningful coincidences that cannot be explained by ordinary causality. When someone harbors a secret love, they unconsciously create synchronistic situations, so-called chance encounters, that seem fated, but are actually manifestations of an unconscious desire seeking expression. This person appears in places you frequent, discovers interests similar to yours, and seems present at crucial moments in your life. What might seem like mere coincidence reveals itself, from a Jungian perspective, as a cosmic dance orchestrated by the forces of the unconscious. Jung would say these encounters are more than coincidences. They are the psyche creating bridges between separate realities, manifesting in the external world what already exists as potential in the inner world. Secret love seeks expression through these meaningful moments, creating a pattern that transcends chance. Notice how this person subtly rearranges their routine to create opportunities for meeting, as if responding to an inner call they themselves do not fully understand. This is the unconscious guiding the conscious, seeking wholeness through connection with the other. Synchronicity also manifests in surprising discoveries of previously unknown connections, places you both visited in the past without knowing each other, mutual acquaintances who unexpectedly appear, coincidences of significant dates. Jung would interpret these patterns as manifestations of the unus mundus, the underlying unified reality that connects all beings and events, becoming more visible when the psychic energy of love activates these fields of resonance. The body speaks what words silence. Jung deeply understood that our psyche does not reside solely in the mind, but manifests integrally through the body. The body language of someone who harbors a secret love reveals the inner conflict between the desire for closeness and the fear of rejection. Observe the patterns. This person leans subtly toward you during conversations, as if drawn by an invisible magnetic field. Their gestures become more animated in your presence, revealing a state of psychic activation that Jung would associate with the constellation of positive emotional complexes. Their hands often seek small touches, seemingly casual brushes on your arm, adjustments to your clothing, physical proximity that subtly crosses the boundaries of ordinary friendship. Jung would interpret these behaviors as manifestations of the soma, the body giving physical form to truths the unconscious already knows. Particularly revealing is mirroring posture, when this person unconsciously mimics your stance, gestures, and expressions. This phenomenon, which Jung would recognize as a manifestation of the unconscious quest for union, reveals a deep desire for attunement and connection that transcends mere social interaction. Also notice subtle changes in breathing, a quicker rhythm when you approach, a momentarily held breath when your gazes meet unexpectedly. Jung would understand these as expressions of unconscious bodily participation, when the body automatically reacts to the presence of the beloved, creating a shared energetic field that Jung would describe as a charged psychic atmosphere, perceptible to both on levels that transcend ordinary consciousness. Secret love often manifests through seemingly contradictory behaviors of jealousy and protectiveness. Jung would understand this as an expression of the inherent polarity in all psychic phenomena, the coexistence of opposites within the same emotional energy. This person shows subtle discomfort when you mention other potential romantic interests, changing the subject, tensing their facial expression, or adopting an ironic tone as a defense mechanism. Jung would interpret these signs as manifestations of the shadow, repressed aspects of personality, emerging when the ego feels threatened. Simultaneously, this person demonstrates concern beyond ordinary friendship, offering help before you. Ask worrying about your well-being in ways suggesting deep emotional investment. This apparent contradiction between jealousy and care reveals the complex nature of love as an integral psychic phenomenon. For Jung, these behaviors would reveal psychic inflation when the ego temporarily identifies with powerful archetypal contents, in this case the archetype of the protective lover, manifesting behaviors transcending habitual personality patterns. This pattern also appears in their tendency to idealize your positive qualities while seeking to protect you from perceived threats, a duality Jung would recognize as expression of the threshold guardian archetype, simultaneously protective and possessive. Notice how this person develops an almost supernatural sensitivity to your struggles, offering support with a speed revealing constant monitoring of your well-being, what Jung would describe as the care complex, activated by secret love's energy. When someone harbors secret love, their questions transcend casual small talk, seeking not just facts about your life but the essence of who you are. Jung would recognize this as the pursuit of soul knowledge, a desire for connection beyond the social persona. This person asks about your dreams, fears, hopes for the future, and formative past experiences. There is a distinctive quality to these conversations, a genuine listening that creates space for you to reveal deeper layers. Jung would say this is the self-seeking recognition in the other, transcending the isolated ego's limitations. Notice how these conversations often take on a timeless quality, creating what Jung called temenos, a sacred psychological space, where social masks can be temporarily suspended. Time seems to flow differently in these moments, illustrating Jung's description of psychological time's relativity compared to chronological time. The nature of these questions reveals more than curiosity. It manifests a genuine desire to map your inner landscape, to understand not just who you are, but who you are becoming. This is the mark of what Jung would recognize as authentic love, that which seeks not to possess, but to truly know. Particularly significant is how this person often returns to themes you mentioned casually in the past, showing not just memory, but a desire to deepen their understanding of what matters to you. Jung would interpret this as the shared individuation principle, when one person's path of self-discovery intertwines deeply with another's, creating a psychic resonance, field amplifying both individuals' growth potential. One of the most intriguing signs of secret love manifests in social dynamics. Jung would understand this as the tension between introverted and extroverted personality aspects when confronted with unprocessed, strong emotions. In social settings, this person oscillates between seeking your closeness and deliberately keeping distance, a paradoxical behavior reflecting the inner conflict between connection desire and exposure fear. Jung would recognize this as enantiodromia, the principle that any extreme position eventually transforms into its opposite. Notice how this person may become unusually quiet when you interact animatedly with others, or paradoxically more expressive when not receiving your attention. This pattern reveals psychic compensation, the unconscious seeking to balance psychic forces through seemingly contradictory behaviors. Particularly revealing is what Jung would call third positioning, when this person unconsciously creates triangular situations, introducing others into the interaction to relieve the tension of undeclared attraction, forming a psychologically safer field for processing intense emotions. This paradoxical dynamic often also appears in their tendency to speak about you to third parties, inadvertently revealing your centrality in their thoughts. Jung would understand this as displaced projection, when psychic energy associated with intense emotion, here secret love, seeks indirect expression channels when direct paths are blocked by ego defenses. One of the deepest signs of secret love is an unusual capacity for emotional resonance. Jung would see this as mystical participation, a state of psychic connection transcending individual ego boundaries, creating a shared field of emotional experience. This person tunes into your emotional states with surprising accuracy, perceiving subtle mood shifts before you verbalize them. This sensitivity exceeds ordinary empathy, reflecting an emotional investment so deep it creates an unconscious bridge between two psychic systems. Jung would observe how this person adapts behavior, energy, and tone in response to your inner states, a psychological dance revealing psychic contamination. When emotional contents circulate freely between two psyches due to partial ego boundary dissolution in love's presence. This phenomenon also manifests in shared laughter at jokes others don't fully grasp, wordless eye contact communication, conveying complex messages, and finishing each other's sentences, signs of temporarily activated shared unconsciousness through undeclared affection's force. The emotional resonance appears especially in crises. This person intuitively knows when you need space or closeness, encouragement words or silent presence. Jung would interpret this synchronicity as the relational transcendent function, when connection transcends the merely personal, activating archetypal care and understanding patterns operating with their own wisdom, independent of each individual's consciousness. Jung devoted much work to studying dreams as the royal road to the unconscious. When someone harbors secret love, this feeling often emerges through verbal slips and dream references, revealing what consciousness tries to hide. This person may mention dreams featuring you, disguising emotional meaning through humor or casualness. Jung would recognize these dream narratives as autonomous complex manifestations. Emotional contents with such energetic charge they escape conscious control, seeking expression through dreams. Equally revealing are verbal slips, moments when this person accidentally uses affectionate terms, mixes words meaningfully, or makes Freudian slips. Jung would interpret these as parapraxis, when the unconscious momentarily overrides conscious control. Notice how this person may blush or visibly discomfort after these slips, revealing the conflict between content-seeking expression and ego defenses guarding secrecy. This pattern manifests what Jung called the tension of opposites, the dynamic force eventually leading to transcendence and psychic integration. These accidental revelations are particularly significant as unconscious eruptions. When repressed, psychic energy accumulates to a point where it expresses despite conscious barriers. Their frequency and intensity often increase over time, reflecting Jung's principle that what is denied does not disappear but returns in increasingly powerful forms, manifesting the psyche's natural tendency toward wholeness and integration. One of the subtlest yet profoundly significant signs of secret love is the qualitative transformation occurring in the presence of objects or symbols associated with you. Jung extensively studied symbols' transformative power as bridges between conscious and unconscious. Observe how this person treats with special reverence objects you gifted or representing shared moments. Jung would recognize this as libidinal transference, when psychic energy invests in external objects that acquire deep symbolic meaning. Equally revealing is the physical reaction to these symbols: a gleam in the eyes, changed breathing, softened facial expression showing what Jung called affective constellation, when an emotionally charged psychic content activates in consciousness. This person may discreetly collect items linked to you, keeping messages, preserving small gifts, treasuring photographs. Jung would interpret these as psychological altars, external symbolic arrangements reflecting and sustaining a meaningful inner reality, tangible manifestations of what cannot be directly expressed. Deeper still is this person's own transformation. When contacting these symbols, a qualitative shift in energy, presence, and authenticity Jung would recognize as the emerging self. As if, in these meaning-charged objects' presence, this person temporarily transcends habitual limitations, revealing a more integrated, authentic self. This reflects the symbol's numinous function. Authentic symbols' capacity to catalyze profound psychic transformations, activating integration and individuation. These 10 signs are not mere behavioral curiosities, but visible manifestations of a deep psychic process Jung would understand as love's most transformative expression. Secret love, viewed through Jungian lenses, transcends the merely romantic, revealing itself as a catalyst for integral human development. Jung teaches us that authentic love, declared or secret, is not just a feeling, but a mutual recognition, process activating dormant potentials in both involved psyches. This recognition transcends ordinary consciousness, occurring first in the unconscious depths, where souls communicate beyond words. The signs we explored are only the visible surface of much deeper currents, the cosmic dance of archetypes seeking wholeness through meaningful encounter. Secret love, in its deepest essence, manifests what Jung called the drive toward totality, the psyche's natural movement toward integration and completeness. If you recognize these signs in someone, remember this awareness carries responsibility. Expanded consciousness demands a conscious response. Jung would teach that the true goal is not manipulating this knowledge, but compassionately understanding the universal human process, expressing itself through these silent love manifestations. As Jung eloquently expressed, love, secret or declared, is always a call toward consciousness evolution, an invitation to transcend the isolated ego's limits and participate in the greater mystery of authentic human connection. This is perhaps the deepest wisdom we can extract from the signs secret love reveals. Secret love also represents what Jung called coincidentia oppositorum, the union of opposites forming authentic psychic transformation's basis. In it coexist visible and invisible, spoken and unspoken, closeness and distance, fear and courage, shadow and light. This creative tension between polarities gives secret love its extraordinary transformative potential. As a society, we tend to value only declared love, forgetting that, as Jung showed us, the unmanifested often carries more transformative potency than the manifested. Secret love, in its unrealized nature, preserves what Jung would call virgin potential, psychic energy undiluted by actualization, thus retaining its capacity to catalyze deep individuation and transformation processes. Finally, Jung would remind us that these signs' true value lies not in their practical utility for identifying who secretly loves us, but in their power to awaken us to existence's symbolic dimension, that layer of reality where souls communicate beyond words. where destinies intertwine following archetypal patterns as ancient as humanity itself, and where love reveals its true nature as a primordial force of connection and transformation, transcending the individual ego's limitations, inviting us to consciously participate in the great mystery of shared existence.